Imagine waking up one morning and realizing that one of the world's most powerful trade routes, worth nearly $1 trillion over the next few decades, has just slipped quietly out of American influence and straight into Canada's hands. No speeches, no treaties, no negotiations. Just cold, hard Arctic steel, new ports, new icebreakers, and a quiet but unmistakable message. These are our waters now, and we're finally ready to defend them. For decades, Washington treated the Canadian Arctic like an unofficial extension of U.S. territory. Ships passed through. Submarines glided beneath the ice. American commanders called it international waters. But today, that era is over. Because Canada isn't just claiming sovereignty anymore. Canada is building it. And the United States, especially under Donald Trump, helped make it happen. Stay with me because this story isn't just about ice, ships, or borders. This is about power shifting north. And it's happening faster than anyone expected. Before we dive in, if you enjoy clear, fact-driven storytelling about global power shifts, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. It really helps the channel reach smart viewers like you. Alright, let's head north. Into the Arctic, where the rules of the future are being rewritten. For most of modern history, the Arctic was frozen, distant, and practically irrelevant to global trade. Maps showed it. Explorers dreamed about it. But economically? Strategically, it might as well have been the moon. That all changed when the ice began disappearing. Today, vast stretches of Arctic water that were once frozen 10 months a year are now open for longer and longer parts of the year. By the 2030s, many experts believe large sections could be navigable most summers and potentially year-round with icebreaker support. That unlocks something extraordinary. The Northwest Passage. A series of Canadian Arctic waterways linking the Atlantic and Pacific and cutting thousands of kilometers off traditional shipping routes. Faster shipping means less fuel, lower costs, faster delivery, and enormous economic leverage. And sitting right across that route is Canada. For over 70 years, Canada has said, "This is our internal waterway, our territory, our rules." The United States has said, "No, it isn't. It's international." Normally, disputes like this get buried in diplomatic language. But then Donald Trump entered the picture, and everything changed, because Trump didn't just pressure Canada on trade. He ignited a national awakening about Arctic sovereignty. And Canadians, along with Mark Carney, finally decided, enough. This isn't theory anymore. This is construction, infrastructure, icebreakers, military capability, real-world control. And once you control the Arctic, you control the future of shipping, minerals, and security. The Northwest Passage shortens major global shipping routes by up to 6,000 kilometers. That's not small. For global trade, that's revolutionary. Experts estimate that by mid-century, 2 to 5% of world shipping could reroute through the Arctic. Global maritime trade is worth around $20 trillion annually. That means $400 billion to $1 trillion worth of trade could pass through Arctic corridors. Now add something else. Critical minerals. The Canadian Arctic is rich in nickel, lithium, copper, rare earth elements, uranium, zinc, and gold. These are the building blocks of electric vehicles, clean technology, smartphones, and military hardware. Historically, the Arctic was too remote and expensive to develop. But if you build roads, ports, airports, icebreakers, and logistics hubs, suddenly those deposits become viable. And Canada moves from resource supplier to critical minerals superpower. That's not just economics. That's geopolitical leverage. Since 1946, Canada has claimed Arctic sovereignty. But claiming is one thing, controlling is another. For decades, there were few ports, minimal naval presence, limited surveillance, seasonal icebreaker capability, and almost no enforcement capacity. So the US, Russia, and China acted accordingly. They treated Canada's sovereignty like a polite suggestion. The US position was blunt. This is an international strait. We can pass freely. And they proved it, repeatedly. Ships went through, submarines surfaced, no permission requested. Canada protested, but couldn't physically stop it. And in geopolitics, power follows capability, not paperwork. When Donald Trump launched tariffs, pressured Canada, and spoke as if Canada were economically dependent, Ottawa woke up. Canadian policymakers realized, if we depend too much on the US, we're vulnerable. So the strategy shifted. Diversify trade. Secure sovereignty. Develop the Arctic, fast. Enter Mark Carney, a former central banker with deep global credibility. Someone who understands markets, logistics, and long-term economic power. Carney didn't just talk about sovereignty. He funded it. Billions for heavy icebreakers, deep-water Arctic ports, surveillance, military logistics, transportation networks, and northern community infrastructure. And most importantly, a permanent Canadian Arctic presence. Not seasonal. Not symbolic. Permanent. Here's the key insight Trump missed. Sovereignty isn't declared. Sovereignty is enforced. When Canada patrols, pilots ships, regulates traffic, charges navigation fees, inspects cargo, and operates ports, the legal debate fades. Because real-world control speaks louder than arguments. And now the United States faces a dilemma. If Washington insists the route is international, then China gets the same rights. That means Chinese ships, Chinese research vessels, and potentially Chinese naval presence right beside North America. That's a security nightmare. So some American strategists are quietly saying, maybe Canada should control this after all. But reversing 70 years of U.S. policy is politically expensive. And Trump? He rarely admits miscalculations. So the tension grows, quietly, but steadily. Canada and the United States are NATO allies. They coordinate on almost everything, except this. European allies mostly sympathize with Canada because they have their own sovereignty disputes. But no one wants to openly contradict Washington, so NATO stays ambiguous. And Canada keeps building, which, diplomatically, is genius. No confrontation, just progress. Every new icebreaker, every upgraded port, every Arctic investment makes Canada's claim stronger. Meanwhile, Russia has over 50 icebreakers. China calls itself a near-Arctic state. Both understand that the Arctic is the future of trade, energy, and security. Trump's pressure didn't weaken Canada, it focused Canada. And now the Arctic is transforming from frozen frontier to economic engine. Canada gains leverage, revenue, strategic independence, and respect. And the United States must now decide, be a partner, or keep resisting, and risk isolation in the Northern Hemisphere. This story isn't about Canada versus America. It's about who controls the next chapter of global trade. For decades, the Canadian Arctic was ignored. Now it may define Canada's future and reshape the balance of North American power. Trump believed pressure would force submission. Instead, it created independence. And as the ice melts, Canada is finally ready to patrol, ready to regulate, ready to lead, and the world is watching. Because the Arctic isn't empty anymore. It's the newest arena of global influence. And Canada just stepped onto the field. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Arctic geopolitics and the power shifts shaping our world, make sure to like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss future breakdowns. And tell me in the comments, do you think the US should support Canada's Arctic sovereignty or defend freedom of navigation? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.